There's alchemy on the wards, a revolution in my soul, a wolf in my doorway, and sand between my toes, and sand between my toes. There's a lover in my heart, and children at my feet, a mad woman in every woman. We're taken to the streets, we're taken to the streets. We're meeting at the front line. Do we have to go to war? All we want is change, a new way. All we want is love, not force.
Well, my own journey of enlightenment started, I suppose, around about the year 2000 or so as well. Before that, I was your average layman, accepting everything that I was being told by the experts. I was kind of a carer for Mary. I was minding her in the sense that making sure that she took her medication on the time when she was supposed to take it. Every day she had a little box with all her tablets in it, and I was supervising that, and I was going along very much with everything that I was being told by the experts. And then it was around the year 2000, I think it coincided with the publication of Beyond Prozac, that book by Terry Lynch, which was very enlightening for me. It put everything in a whole new perspective, and that had come on top of another book by Dr. Peter Breggin, an American psychiatrist, which also was saying the same message essentially. And both of those helped me very much to go along with what Mary herself had come to realise as well, that the medication she was on was doing her a lot of damage, and maybe she was better off seeing something in a completely different way altogether, which she then proceeded to do from that particular time on, you know. Dr. Terry Lynch has been very good. He's a lone voice in Ireland, unfortunately. He has spoken out a lot, he has written, but he has, for that he has been, I wouldn't know if you use the word blackballed or not, but he has certainly not got as many invitations to various conferences and so on as you would expect, I think, for a man of his knowledge.
Medication, as I see it, has a place, short-term where possible, but honesty there should be honesty in terms of medication, honesty in terms of how it works and acts. I would never say to somebody that your medication is correcting a chemical imbalance, because that's never been established. That's a lie. Couldn't. It's an untruth. I can't tell somebody that. Similarly, I can't say that medication is treating an unidentified neurobiological disorder. Basically, what I can say for certain is that medication seems to change how people feel. The most common effects are that they tranquilize, sometimes it's stimulation, people experience numbness, so it changes how people feel. So I think telling people the truth is a human right too. Accurate empathy is an extremely important concept in all of this. It means a truly accurate understanding of people's story and experiences. And I think that's pretty rare. It's certainly rare within psychiatry and general practice.
Robert Whittaker came to Cork, I think it was about 3 years ago, and he's an American journalist who has written a book called Anatomy of an Epidemic, and he questions the whole overuse of medication and what it's causing in the rise of so-called mental illness in America as well today. And he's spoken all over the world now as well about it, and we were very fortunate to get him here in Cork as well.
From 1987 forward, and 1987, by the way, is the year Prozac arrives in the market. So this is the beginning of the second generation era. Now we're going to look at the same metrics. From 1987 to 2007 in the United States, the number of people on disability rose to more than 4 million. So it tripled. And now our disability rate is around 1 in 75.
That's what we see ourselves as doing, essentially, passing on the information that we have learned and I have learned to a wider public who would still be in a situation where I was myself, I'd say over 20 years ago, going along with the medical model system and believing all that they're being told, the myths, as somebody refers to them, the myths of the chemical imbalance and these kind of things that you have to take. It's the same as taking insulin for diabetes. You have to be on your medication. Things which are completely unscientific and in fact myths. Myths is a very good word to describe them as well. So that's where I have now found myself, and we continue to campaign. We have conferences from time to time. We lobby politicians. We campaign on the basis of human rights. We campaign against forced electroshock. We campaign for alternatives, better alternatives, and there are there, but it's a very hard job to kind of get these taken on board by the powers that be, who seem to be very much in the grip of the medical model way of thinking, coming from the College of Psychiatry, and of course behind all of that there is the subtext of the influence of the pharmaceutical industry in Ireland as well, which obviously is a major industry, providing lots of jobs, and you would get the impression that the government would be very, very slow to kind of in any way be critical of the pharmaceutical industry and anything that the pharmaceutical industry would be involved in, and instead it's it's lauded and if you find yourself taking part in discussions on radio or in the media and so on as well, very often what you're saying is more than counterbalanced by the other side. So we would see ourselves as having still an uphill struggle to kind of get the message across to the public in that regard.
I became involved in this area arising out of my interest in human rights and civil rights, having been in South Africa and seeing what lack of it does to society, both individuals and groups. So when I came back to Ireland, I joined the Irish Council of Civil Liberties and the Advocacy for Prisons, Irish Prison Reform Trust, and in Dublin when I was training to be a psychotherapist. I suppose Mary was the one person in the Cork Advocacy Network who had a really profound big picture of what was going on. John McCarthy and Mary were the two natural leaders of the Advocacy Network, I thought, in my opinion. But John was more of the action man and Mary was more contemplative. She hadn't been a nun, she was more spiritual. And she had a greater emotional grasp of what was going on from a woman's perspective, and bearing in mind that it's mostly women who actually bear the brunt of the wrongdoings or the problems in psychiatry and in medicine generally. So it was she really that I realised was the leader, the natural leader, and I suppose I made a choice then to be support for her. She had a unique experience which she was prepared to publicise, and she had immense courage.
Well, my experience with ECT started on the third day after childbirth.
And Mary joins us in studio this morning. Mary, thanks for coming in. We got a glimpse there of your experience with the treatment or the therapy. Could you bring us back first of all as to why it was deemed necessary and why it was administered?
Because prior to being in the hospital, I had got nitrous oxide, a gas was administered for pain relief. I had got a lot of it because my labour was very long, and I reacted to that gas, and then I was given more drugs in labour. Sparine was one of them. It is neuroleptic. On my record, allergic was written down, so obviously there was problems around it. And yet all the reactions that I had afterwards, they were never taken into account. I was just sent to a psychiatric hospital, taken away from my baby.
Well, we became great friends. We first met in Carrickmore Hospital. She used to go out during the morning and come back for lunch. And, well, we just got chatting. And in the evening we often would say the rosary together. And she was really kind of fighting the system. But because she'd been in the hospital so long, she was kind of, a bit institutionalised. So when she got out, she invited me to her home. And I would often spend time with her at the house, in the home, at night times as well, and daytimes, for stretches of time. And we got to know each other very well, and I would help her out, do bacon and eggs and things that the rest of us would know, and she had known, but had forgotten how to do. And then other meals as well. And anyway, altogether, with Mary's influence, she introduced me to Mary. We founded this MindFreedomIreland and took it from there, and really fighting the psychiatrists and psychiatric medicine, where they're just so heavy-handed that, as you well know, that overdope people, keep you in hospital too long, put you through your paces really when it's not necessary, you know, and I wouldn't let you out, you know, at all. And I don't know if you've ever been in Carrickmore, have you?
Not Carrickmore.
Well, but something like, well,
yes,
that's about the worst, actually, that you could be in. And anyway, so that's where I met Helena and became firm friends. We really did. And it so happened when whatever happened to her in the end, I was actually in the hospital myself. Otherwise I would have been there with her, you know. So it's tragic really, that we lost her. Because she, you know, for example, when people are depressed, she was explaining how you become helpless and hopeless. And you can't actually do anything for yourself, apart from the fact that you actually have a suffering in your soul that becomes so great that you can't quite understand it.
Well, I was, first of all, I got caught up in the psychiatric system in my teens. First when I was 17 for depression, and later at 19 I was attending UCC and got involved with this wealth of civil rights group. We were giving an exhibition, and I went I suppose I got very overexcited and hyper, and ended up in a private psychiatric hospital in Cork for 6 months because of that. And while there I was bombarded with shock treatment, with ECT, and given very heavy medication, and I actually ran away from the hospital. But subsequently I was in public hospitals for the next 40 years really. I'm now 61. Well, I got involved in the electroshock campaign because I feel very strongly about electroshock and the harm it does, which was not made clear to me at all in hospital. And I was just told that was temporary memory loss, whereas actually what happens is they induce an epileptic seizure. And this has been done to me so many times. And actually I did have a seizure at one stage in hospital.
Psychiatry is the only form of medicine that diagnoses you without having any physical test. If you anybody is a psychiatrist, you're giving me it'll be an interview I get. They'll be asking me questions. In fact, they don't ask very good questions even to know you either. Their whole basis is that people who are in need of psychiatry have a chemical imbalance in their brain and they need drugs to fix it. Well, there's no test, there's nothing to be able to say when I was in psychiatry or anybody else in psychiatry that you have a broken brain, there's nothing wrong with your brain. So, and what is true as well is that
they don't know what they're really doing with the drugs. It's guinea pig work. You'll be told to take something. If that doesn't work, you'll be told to take something else. If that doesn't work, they'll up the dosage. If that doesn't work, you might get another drug. Then you might have 3 or 4 drugs at the one time. That's wrong. Then when it comes to electroshock, it always causes brain damage. It always depletes some of your memory. Electroshock is like on the computer when you delete the button and it's gone. You can't get it back. And that's every memory we have is part of ourselves, and to forcefully decide that you will take away the memories of somebody else when you don't know what you're at, that's really, really bad. And that's what doctors are doing.